Okay, cool. I think we're all here, except for Amber Toole, who's leaping and running through the crowd to get here on time. She's always late, but she blames it because she's perimenopausal. Okay, here we go. My name is Sarah Cooperman, and I'm the CEO of SCW Fitness Education. And I'm here with two of my really good friends, Melissa Lane, and I've got Amber Toole, and I have Kristen joining us here at the conference. And I'm absolutely thrilled to have her here because I think I was the one who personally hunt you down like a dog and approached you and begged you to come. Okay, so with that, next time we do a webinar, I'll have three of my best friends here. If you guys in the hall want to come and hear about menopause, come on in. We're going to talk about training smart hormones and exercise synergy. I have these amazing women with me, and I'm going to have them introduce themselves. But we're going to talk about how hormones shift throughout life and in your workouts. And cortisol, estrogen, testosterone. We might even get into HRT, into hormone replacement therapy. Don't start Melissa and I on that. The fist fight, it's violent. And what I'm very excited about is, Melissa, I would love you to introduce yourself.
I'm Melissa Lane. I'm a college professor at the University of North Georgia. I've been with SCW for 17 years after applying for 7 years straight and getting turned down. I've been in the fitness business for 40 years. I've been at North Georgia for 20 years, and I wrote the menopause certification for SCW and the nutrition, hormones, and metabolism certification.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kristen Herlihy. I am a psychotherapist, health coach, and fitness trainer. I've been in the clinical world for about 25 years and the fitness world for about a dozen. So I teach high-intensity classes, low-intensity classes, and my new favorite, yoga. I am 52 years old and in perimenopause. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Amber Toole. I'm on the SCW faculty, and I own the training tool in Ocala, Florida, where we offer personal training, Pilates, nutrition coaching. A large majority of our clientele is over 40 females, a lot of perimenopausal and postmenopausal women. This has been my group for much of the over 30 years that I have been in this industry, and I am postmenopausal. And I'm so excited to talk about all of these things.
I think that's fantastic. I'm going to have you hang on to that microphone. And then when we have a question from the people here in the audience, raise your hand and we will make sure that we'll get you a microphone. And for those of you at home that are watching us, you can open your chat box. It's right to the left of the chat box. It's left of the green button. Just click on it, type in your questions. We've got our wonderful Dan Fox, who's running this webinar, and he will make sure we address your questions. We have almost 200 people registered for the webinar. We always have about 50, I'm going to say 50, 60 show up. The rest of the people watch recordings, and everybody loves the podcast because what are you going to do driving to the club? You're not doing dashboard choreography. You're listening to something, and you can just listen to just enough Taylor Swift and then forget about it. Okay, so we're going to start with you, Amber. How do hormonal fluctuations impact training results?
Okay, so I know that Melissa will give us the science behind the hormones, but I will explain what I see as a personal trainer, a fitness professional, when I work with ladies who are moving through this time of perimenopause and postmenopause. Those hormonal fluctuations are going to change a lot of things. So you asked about results, and I'll tell you what I see a lot of times is ladies begin to start gaining weight. So they all of a sudden are like, oh no, this is not happening. So they begin to eat less typically and work out more and harder than they ever have in their entire life. And then they're watching no results happening, but for many of them, the weight is continuing to increase. They're starting to notice a little bit more belly fat. Those results are not happening And they're thinking, but I'm doing even better than I ever have in my whole life. I don't understand. The other thing sometimes too, which is going to lead to a reduction in the results, is for many of the women, the fatigue levels really increase. They can't keep up the level of training that they used to be able to in the past. Now, there's a lot of ways that we can adjust that, but those are questions that are coming, so I will wait to tell you.
I'm gonna ask you to pass the microphone to Melissa. Let's dive a little bit into the science as to why this happens with the weight gain, with some reduction in strength and changing attitudes during this time.
That's a lot. Okay, so you are going to change your estrogen and your progesterone levels because your ovaries are running out of eggs. If your ovaries are running out of eggs, your body goes, well, you're not fertile anymore, so you don't need estrogen and progesterone as much anymore. Estrogen can drop to about 40% of its original level. Progesterone can drop to 0. You still make some estrogen in your fat cells because your fat cells are endocrine glands. You can still obtain estrogen from your environmental estrogens like your BPA. And then you can change testosterone into estrogen because of aromatase in your liver when you drink alcohol. So there's ways to still keep your estrogen level high. But remember, your body doesn't like extreme lows or extreme highs of everything. It doesn't like black or white. It likes to be gray. So there's an optimal level of estrogen even after menopause. Menopause is 1 day. And so like Amber says, you see your people start doing so many different things. Unfortunately, what they're doing is they're raising their cortisol levels. They're doing too much high intensity interval training. They're doing it for too long. Technically, they're doing high volume interval training. If you want to look at the science behind the numbers and how hard they're working, that raises your cortisol levels. Cortisol levels that stay chronically high because they're not taking a day off to go meditate or do yoga with Kristen. They're simply kicking it every single day. Cortisol levels stay high. That mobilizes all your fuel because it thinks you're in the fight or flight mode and they think a bear is chasing you. And when you don't utilize all those mobilized energies, you start to put on belly fat because that's where you hold cortisol. And because you're losing estrogen, you don't sleep as well because estrogen affects your hypothalamus. And I'm going to let Kristen take it over and then we'll jump back in.
Thank you. Thank you. All I heard was alcohol. That's all I heard.
I think one of the interesting aspects that they both touched upon in terms of the mental health is that this happens to a lot of women, and the two questions that they ask are, why is this happening and why is it happening now? And the frustration that I find not only in my own perimenopausal journey, but also for my clients is that they go to the health experts, right? And that usually starts with an OBGYN, and we're not faulting an entire industry. However, they did not receive the training that they needed and that we as women deserve. So, exercise more and eat less was what I was told by my primary care physician. And I explained to him from a fitness science perspective, you're asking me to have my body do more, but provide it less fuel. Do you understand that that will actually do harm to my body? And he said, well, you just need fewer calories. And again, talking in circles. So when it comes to these, struggles that we're having physically, mentally, we really beat ourselves up. Why is this happening to me? Why is it happening now? I need to hit the gym harder. I must be lazy. I'm getting fat, using all of these horrible words for ourselves. And then we have the horrible words to describe our bodies, the muffin top, the bat wings, all of these, derogatory terms, when really what it comes down to is our body is changing. You can change what you observe. You cannot change what you judge. So if you're sitting in a provider's office, physical therapist, mental health therapist, medical doctor, and they are judging where you are at, you take your handbag, you take your cell phone, and you turn around and you walk out. You deserve to have better care, because what worked for us in our 20s and 30s, mentally, physically, and emotionally, needs to be adapted now. When I was in my 20s, yoga was not a workout. That was like a stretching class and chanting. Now, give me a good namaste and I am there. I would do yoga 5-6 days a week, if I could, but I know the importance of strength training for bone and muscle, which we'll go over. And, that's the balance that I found today. So be open to trying other exercise modalities that maybe were not your favorite back in the day. Go ahead and revisit them today.
I always look at that, and I don't know if you guys realize this, but there's not enough female physicians out there. And in our generation, like when I was in law school, there were 7 women in my law school class. I mean, you could scan, that was it. There, in 2022, there was $100 million dedicated to menopause research. Do you know the #1 expense that women, or the #1 area that women will spend money on throughout their life? It's not pads and tampons, and it's menopause products. So it's grown into an extremely lucrative industry now. We have far more women going to medical school, and it's a hot topic. So I'm always the one who kind of throws in a little business edge on here. But if you guys are looking to become experts on this, I see Ann Gilbert out here. She's got Fit Her. Do you love the name of that business? FIT-HER. You have to look at different programs that you can offer in your fitness center. The specialists we have here that focus on not just exercise programs, but Kristen talks about coaching programs. It's a huge boom, and it should be, because our boomers, pardon the pun, are aging and need this type of attention. So if we look at these hormonal fluctuations and impact on training, what I'm also hearing is that we want to focus on recovery. And we're working and working and working so hard that we're not focusing on the recovery, that we're focusing on the high intensity performance constantly. And there is some great research out there. It's Hunter et al. And actually it was from 2013, which is an older research study, but they looked at women who were the ages of 67 years old. And they had 72 of them, and they tracked them for 16 weeks. I can't believe I remember this, Melissa. Maybe I'm having a flashback. I don't know. It certainly has nothing to do with alcohol. Okay. So, but I look at this as 16-week study on these women that were 62 years old. And it was really a fantastic study. And what it looked at was, should people work out 1 day a week cardio, and 1 day a week strength training? And let's say you do Monday cardio and Wednesday strength training, approximately 30 to 45 minutes in each time slot. And then they compared a second group that was 2-2. So we had 1-1, and then we had 2-2. So you had like Monday, Wednesday was strength training, and Tuesday, Thursday, or Tuesday, Friday was cardio training. Then they had another group that was 3-3. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, strength, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday might have been cardio. And they compared those 3 different groups. And you know what they found was all 3 groups lost approximately 3 pounds and put on 3 pounds of body fat and put on about a half a pound of lean muscle. All 3, the 1-1, the 2-2, and the 3-3. But the 3-3 group tended to find that they did not want to continue the program because it was too much. It was too intense. And I think what we're discovering is we need to integrate recovery, and we also need not to over exercise. We don't need to do that. So that's that cycle. When Kristen said, you just walk out of that physician's office, it doesn't make sense. If you're not getting the fuel for the exercise program, there's research out there that says, do not exercise on an empty stomach. You don't get as efficient a workout. You can't last as long, and you can't perform as efficiently or utilize as much energy because you just don't have the energy. So eat some calories so you can actually expend greater calories during the workout, and also so that later on you'll be able to hypertrophy the muscles. I am going to jump into one last thing here because Melissa talked a long time, so I can do this. But I look at this, I'm scared of her. But one of the things I was looking at is also like cold plunging. I wish I could cold plunge in the middle of the night, right? But the cold plunging, women cannot go as cold, and we shouldn't be doing the cold plunging immediately after we do our strength training. We have to let those muscles hypertrophy a little bit. We have to let them, frankly, get a little inflamed so that they can transfer and become stronger and more efficient muscle fibers. And then you could do your cold plunging later at night or way earlier in the morning to help reduce the inflammation. But the inflammation necessarily is not bad. It just means you want to use the inflammation at certain points. So what are the best exercises for hormone balance?
Looking at
Yes,
me?
I'm looking at you, girl.
There's no sense, there's nothing about balancing your hormones. So this is now a catchphrase, all right? Your hormones are always fluctuating. So is there a perfect exercise to make your hormones balanced? No, that's ridiculous talk. But let me tell you what is important. If you're looking for anything, remember, let's go back to Melissa talking about cortisol. We become very sensitive to stress and to cortisol because of the changing of our hormones. So if you're thinking about anything, it needs to be, how can I get my stress levels down? Is that a gentle walk every day? Do I do some meditation? Where can I fit that into my day? That's going to be my opinion for that.
I think when it comes to training, we want to make sure, and Black Friday's coming up if you own a gym or you own a studio. And then also the New Year's resolutions, that's when everybody's going to click buy, but are they actually going to show up? We want to encourage success for our clients and also for ourselves. So we want to make sure that the training program is one that builds up gradually. If you have someone who's exercised 1 days a week and you're telling them, okay, well, I have a 30-day plan where you exercise 4 to 5 days a week and you're going to be lifting, they're going to fail out. And what we want is for our clients to be successful on the 31st day of the 30-day plan, right? Because then they're going to come back and they're going to continue to work with us and they're going to have success, which is going to allow them to say, hey, health is a journey, it's not a destination. So a couple of the things that I do with my clients, one is progressive overload. I want to make sure that they're starting at a weight that is comfortable yet challenging. Again, we want to make it comfortable before we make it complicated. Okay, so I'm not doing, jumping burpees with a twist and, spin around. They really have to get the basics down first, and they have to be able to do it safely with the weights that they're using, resistance bands, balls, whatever. But through the work that I do each and every month, my clients will progressive overload to heavier weights. The second piece that I do with all of my clients is triplanar training. We train side to side laterally, we train sagittal forward and back, and we train in the transverse plane twisting. And if you don't think that that's important, I'm going to ask you how you all drove here, because you walked forward in your sagittal plane to get in your car, you scooted over in your frontal lateral plane to get into the car, and then you turned around in your transverse plane to put on the seatbelt. Now, if you lose any of those 3 planes of motion, driving is a problem. Reaching up to get the good crackers on top that you're hiding away from your kids, that's going to be a problem. Reaching down to get the Amazon boxes that are going to be coming in the next 6 weeks, problem. So this is where we want to make sure that we are training ourselves and our clients in a progressive fashion, but in a functional way across all 3 planes. So I say to my clients, we're going to stretch, strengthen, and train in all 3 planes.
So like Amber said, you don't balance your hormones. Your hormones are ever changing. They spurt out of endocrine glands. It's like, oh, a little something. Psst. Oh, you need a little more. Psst. Oh, you need a lot more. Psst. Okay. So they're ever changing. But because you are losing your estrogen, because it gets cut by 50%, when you choose your exercises, you really need to look at what estrogen did for you when you were fertile. Estrogen is an anti-inflammatory. It taps down your inflammation. So you need to make sure that you are protecting your heart, because if your estrogen has dropped, your inflammation has gone up. So heart disease is much more likely. So even though there's such a strong emphasis on strength training and lifting heavy with progressive overload, you have got to do zone 2 cardio training. And zone 2 cardio training is 65 to 85% of your max heart rate. Okay, so you're going out for a walk. You're not solving the world problems with the person that you're walking with, but you're not getting to the point that you're breathless. It's that typical place that you hear about where you should be able to say 2 to 3 words and then take a breath. All right, so you got to do zone 2 training to combat your inflammation in your body. You have to do progressive overload resistance training, and you have to go heavy enough to hit your fast twitch fibers, because your fast twitch type 2 fibers are what experience sarcopenia. So even though the research says that if I want to gain strength or if I want to hypertrophy, there's no ideal range of numbers. You could go to 100 as long as you hit fatigue. That's not true fighting sarcopenia. In sarcopenia, you need to hit your fast twitch fibers, which are your type 2 powerful fast glycolytic. So you need to do progressive resistance pump training. You need to do sprint interval training, which is not what we do in an hour class. Sprint interval training is as hard as you can go for 20 seconds, as hard as you can go, doing whatever. You don't have to run, get on a rower, because you can get up to speed fast on that rower. You create cortisol, you create a peak, which is going to give you that afterburner, that EPOC, but you're only going to do it for 10 minutes so that your cortisol levels don't stay spiked forever. We now know that getting 10 minutes of lactate training actually brings your insulin receptors to the wall of your muscle cell. It used to be thought that your insulin receptors were on the wall of your muscle cell. They're not. They're in the middle of the muscle cell. And when you get lactate into your body, not only does it improve your insulin sensitivity, it plays a major role in your brain health. So you have to take your people into lactate anaerobic glycolytic. Sprint training is a great way to do that. And the last thing that we have to do, because estrogen controls our osteocytes, and our osteocytes control our osteoblast and our osteoclast, you have to do jump training, and you have to reteach yourself how you jump train. We have been teaching ourselves as a fitness industry that when you jump, you need to take that landing by bending your knees and improving your posture and keeping your abs tight. No, you need to create ground reactive forces that act on your skeletal system. So you don't take the landing in your knees, you take the landing in your skeleton, and that's how you prevent osteoporosis. So it's kind of like a double jump. It's a little jump that you take in your skeleton, and then a jump that you land on your knees. A little jump that you take in your skeleton, and then a landing on your knees. Not on your knees, but taken in your knees.
Okay, that's interesting. Go ahead, Amber. Yes, please add, and then I'm gonna add too.
Okay, I'm not going to say that Melissa is wrong. I want you to hear what I'm saying.
Just one second. You guys, this is a panel for a reason, because all these people, we have different opinions, we have different research. So
So Melissa is correct in everything she said. In my experience with the clients that I work with, I would not start them where Melissa is. And let me explain to you why. And this is why it is dependent upon the person. You can do that if you are metabolically prepared to train that way. If you have not put into place getting your cortisol levels down and dealing with your stress management first, the last thing you need to do is any kind of HIIT training like what she's talking about. What I mean by that is the person, you or your client, you have to get your stress levels down. There needs to be a work on sleep. You need to be eating the appropriate amount of calories for your body to do the things that it needs to do. You need to have daily movement that is calming your system down, that's getting into your parasympathetic nervous system. If you take a female who is already peri or postmenopausal, highly stressed, has done no work on her already diminishing sleep, and you go, here you go, you're going to lift heavy and run and do hit and jump training and all this, cortisol through the roof. She's not ready for that. She needs to be prepared. So in my opinion, we're going to make sure that the female is in that place. We have a circadian rhythm and they need to be tapped into that, and they need to be stressed, as low stress as possible before we add in the super hard, very stressful things. And that's going to be a really tough call as a coach, because what if somebody's already unhappy with the way they look, they already want to get rid of this weight, they're tired of it, they're crying all the time, they're not sleeping, and you're like, we're going to take this really slow. So if they had me or Melissa, they listened to us, they're going to be like, I'm going with Melissa because she's going to give me results. But that might not get her the results she needs if she doesn't have that stress tamped down.
And it's very interesting about looking at the heavy weights. There's some new research out of the Mayo Clinic that documents that if you do low weights, high repetition to failure, okay? So that means failure means you can almost not do another repetition, because if you did that other repetition, you would get out of perfect posture. You need to keep your posture, your body awareness, your alignment, and then you do the lifting to the point, which is probably about 65%. So it's still in the range of a 1 rep max of being 65%, but it's at the lower end. So instead of doing 10 to 12 repetitions, you can do 15 to 20 repetitions, but in perfect posture, and you hit that failure. You could work yourself up to heavier weights, because then you have to do fewer repetitions. And the other thing that happens is we always used to think we had to do 3 sets. Remember, you do like 10 to 12 repetitions, you take a 1.5 to 2 minute break, you go back, you do the same thing, you do about 10 repetitions, you take that break, you go back, you do 10 repetitions. You need to do 3 sets if you are a professional athlete, okay? You need to do it because that last little bit is gonna make the difference between a gold and a bronze, all right? They may look the same, they are not the same. If you could make it through 1 full set to failure, you get almost 2/3 of the benefits that you would if you did those 3 sets. So there's benefits to those lower weight, high reps, and there's benefits to the high weight, heavy reps. Go ahead.
I'm gonna disagree again.
Okay.
Y'all like this? Okay.
She's so difficult.
I mean, I'm postmenopausal and lost 18 pounds, trained myself. So I don't know, I'm a case study right here, but I've trained a lot of people. And again, I'm not saying that's wrong. Beginner, great place to go, right? They're learning, they need that repetition. For somebody like me who's been training for 30 years of my life, no way. I'm going to go because I am physically fit enough to lift heavy, and I'm trying to build muscle and maintain what I have. So when you hear that our estrogen has lowered, then that's also affecting how much muscle we can maintain on our body. So your number one main reason for strength training should be to build your strength, to build your muscle, to keep it from going away. So there's some of that. Yes, my suggestion, if you had somebody who was already fit, and I'm not a gold athlete by any means, but if you have somebody who's already fit, 3 sets might be great for them. But if you have a beginner, maybe 15 to 20 reps with 1 set is appropriate. Again, it's going to be client specific. What does the rest of their life look like? And if you're looking at strength training, so whether you decide to do the heavier weights or medium weights with higher reps, the other thing is if they're doing the heavier weights with the lower repetitions, which is typically how I train people, somewhere between 2 and 4 sets. It all depends. It's dependent on the person. Lots of rest in between the sets, because the whole point is you want to do that first set strong as you can. Let's say 8 reps. You want to rest 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, maybe 3. It depends on what you're doing. And then come back for that second set and try to hit that same rep with the same weight, or maybe bump that weight up a little bit. You've got to be challenging yourself. Not with a beginner. That's not where we're going to start with them. But when you have somebody who's really trying to get results, they've got to build muscle.
And yeah, point, counterpoint. And I have to agree with both of you because the main thing is consistency. Can you find something they like that they will do? Like if you tell me I have to lift really heavy, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it because part of it is I can't hold the weight in my hand. I can't, okay, all right, grip strength. Oh my God, Melissa's getting excited. All right.
She's
So, she is
Can
born
we make
excited.
sure to just touch on the pelvic floor too?
Please,
from
let's
that piece of it?
You can touch your pelvic floor all you want. You're out of town. Okay, but what we're looking at is consistency. Let's find something that they love, that they will do consistently. And if they feel challenged and they want to feel like if I'm spending money with my trainer, in my small group, which works amazingly well for menopausal women, perimenopausal women, and postmenopausal, it works well with women. It's a great thing to do because they will feel like they belong. Let's go to the pelvic floor. Go ahead, Kristen, take us out of this.
And just to clarify, when we're talking about perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause, perimenopause is about, on average, 4 to 7 years where you could still intermittently have menstruation, but the hormones are starting to leave town. That's where a lot of the women that I work with, they don't even realize they're there and they're having all these frustrations. Menopause is 1 day, the 366th day of the cessation of menstruation. Postmenopause is for the rest of your life. Now I'm 52 in perimenopause. I will probably spend half my life in being able to menstruate and then half my life in postmenopause. And think about that. I mean, that's a really long time. So when it comes to the pelvic floor, we want to think about the health. So when we think about jumping exercises, we have to understand where women learn this information and where they got it from. I used to be a perinatal fitness specialist, so I work with women who were pregnant and newly postpartum, doing a lot of the rebuilding of the pelvic floor, the core muscles. And a lot of them, you know, they were having urinary incontinence. Now, we all know as fitness professionals, urinary incontinence is not normal. However, I cannot tell you, more women than not have told me, well, what, my mom said it was normal. She said she still, you know, has a tinkle every time when she jumps up and down or whatever. And so they think, again, remember the mentality of do more when you want to achieve more. They want to lose more weight or whatever, so they're going to do more. So they think, well, if I have urinary incontinence more, I must be doing better for my body. When actually they could be doing damage to the pelvic floor. So we want to make sure that if they are doing impact exercise, to strengthen that pelvic muscle and to make sure that they understand that if you have any kind of leakage when you laugh, giggle, wiggle, tickle, or sneeze, that is not normal. And we need to speak. I talk about that in my class all the time. Some people get a little blushy and a little, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. And I'm like, you got a pelvic floor. It's a muscle. I'm here to work your muscles. We're going to work all of them. And I'm going to talk to you about that and make sure. And I have women that come to me in their 50s and 60s and said, my gynecologist doesn't even talk to me about my pelvic floor, but you know, their trainer does. So normalize the experience for them so that they will be more willing and open to ask questions, so that when they, you know, have a workout and say, oh gosh, you know, that wasn't the move for me, you can talk openly about that and help them get the best move that's safe and effective for them.
Wait, you want to talk about my session on the pelvic floor tomorrow? The pelvic floor is a muscle. Tomorrow we work it in a session, or maybe Saturday, I don't know. There are videos that you can purchase from SCW on how to work the pelvic floor. Just like Kristen said, it is a muscle, and leaking on yourself is not normal. It is improvable. That's not a word, but I just made it up. It can be improved upon so that you can do jump training and you can do heavy lifting, so that when the pressure changes in your thorax, in your area, your pelvic floor doesn't cause urine to leak out.
Could you also elaborate a little bit more on the benefits of heavy weight training? Because I know when I've heard your presentations, you talk about being able to build up gradually and taking it on, and the benefits of the heavy weight. What are your thoughts on 1 set versus 2 or 3 sets? How do we integrate it into a personal training program and a group X program?
So I agree with everything that everybody has says about progressive overload. And again, we have to look at where they come from and what they've done in the past and what they will continue to do as you set them free from their personal training. You shouldn't personal train someone for their entire life. I know it makes for good money, but you should really train them so they can become aware of what their workouts are. But anyway, the research mainly from Len Kravitz, he does a ton about sets and reps for our active aging, shows that you should start with 1 set and gradually progress up, and 3 is plenty. But if you are Amber and you've been lifting for the rest of your life and you're 50 years old and you want to do 4, that's fine. I work a full-time job. I rescue dogs. I take care of an aging mom. I don't have time to spend that much time in the gym. So I'm going to shorten my reps and I'm going to lift heavy. And the other thing is, just because it works for one person doesn't mean it's going to work for the other person. We don't put everybody on the same nutritional plan. We should not put everybody on the same workout plan. So if you're doing a workout and your body isn't changing, that's a clue you should change something in your workout. Or check your sleep, check your stress levels, check your nutritional plan. But just because it works for one person, it doesn't work for the other person. You have something called a genome, your genetic makeup, and it's different for everyone.
I love that. And then another thing was, we were talking a little bit about recovery. I'm really into recovery. Do you know those days? Okay, imagine it's Monday morning, because you guys are here for a 3-day conference. All of you are a little weird. You all are going to go home and go, oh God, that hurts. Ooh, that was so fun. You know, you have issues that you enjoy this little bit of pain that you worked out pretty hard and it feels good. But you are going to be exhausted. And you know, when you push yourself to work out, when you're exhausted, that's when you're predisposed to injury. And a lot of us, and especially the people in this room, unfortunately, I'm one of them, we push ourselves thinking, well, I'm going to get the endorphins and I'm going to feel better later. Well, you get to a certain point in your life where it doesn't feel better later. You're just simply sore. And I have to talk to myself, which I found out I do very often. My husband brought that to my attention. I didn't realize I talked to myself. I feel like I'm talking to myself now. But I was feeling so guilty that I wasn't going to join him at yoga, because yoga I will go to hot yoga. I know Gail thinks that's ridiculous, but I go to hot yoga and I really enjoy it. But I'm beat when I leave. And my husband's like, are you going tonight? And I look at him and I'm just so tired. I'm like, no. And I feel so horribly guilty. We have to get over that. We have to give ourselves time to recover, because it's like when you go on vacation. You go on vacation, you come back from vacation and you are just rejuvenated, you know? And if you take a day off, like if you're caught in an airplane like I was the other day trying to get here to Boston, flying through DC, and then they wanted to send me to North Carolina. I'm in an airplane all day long sitting. The day after, I have a fabulous workout because I let myself recover. And that's another thing I think we need to think about when we're talking about aging and exercising. How do women train? Okay, I said during menopause, and everybody says it's 1 day. So how do you train that 1 day? Now, what is the difference between, what would you say, difference between being perimenopausal and postmenopausal? Melissa, I'm going to start with you. It's a big question.
It's a very individualized question, because you also have to think about what else is going on in that person's life and their sleep and their stress level and what their goals are. Once you are postmenopausal, your strength training should become much more functional as opposed to craziness burpees. We should not be going to any club that is having us do burpees postmenopausal, because if my cat's toy rolls under the sofa, I am not doing a burpee to go get it. I am gonna squat down, put my hands on the floor, step back into a plank, drop my knees, and I'm gonna reach under that way. That's the way my training should be. I should look at what do I want to continue to do to have an active life? Do I want to play pickleball? Do I want to play golf? Do I want to play tennis? All of those things. So it should become much more functional. Do I want to get up and down off the floor? I have a lot of people that say, don't put your active agers on the floor. Okay, if you don't put them on the floor, how are you going to teach them to get up? Just don't make them go up, down, up, down, up, down, but create exercise patterns that get them on the floor and teach them how to use those muscles to stand up. It, to me, becomes much more functional postmenopausal, and I think perimenopausal, it is very individualized because you also have to look at hormone replacement therapy. You really do have to look at that. It's a very individualized choice, but that's going to change things because estrogen is an anabolic hormone. Estrogen actually is what starts the creation of the satellite cell theory. It's what starts the satellite cell theory.
What is the satellite cell theory, please?
Once you damage a muscle cell, you have little stem cells, satellite cells that hang out on your muscle. Once your muscle starts streaming, once you've messed up your H zone and your M line and all of those fun things, those satellite cells migrate over to your damage. And if everything is present in your cell that you need, testosterone, growth hormone, leucine, and mTOR, the muscle cell will put itself back together. But what we know from research is that mTOR is not as sensitive to the leucine as we get older. So it becomes more difficult. So we need to make sure we're eating correctly, we're sleeping correctly, because sleeping is when you make your testosterone. There's just not enough time for us to talk about this all tonight.
I love listening to Melissa. I always get some good Scrabble words. I know I'm going to stump everyone else because no one will challenge me on it. So I teach both perimenopausal women as well as postmenopausal women. And my question when I look at those two groups is what is going to take them out of my class? What injury is going to take them out? So for example, 2021, frozen shoulder, 2023, frozen shoulder. Yeah, you're nodding. People are talking. Have you seen your clients that have frozen shoulder? Again, I was asking my physical therapist, does this have to do, why are all the women in their 40s and 50s here in the PT office talking about frozen shoulder, adhesive capsulitis? They said, nope, there's no correlation. And in my mind, I knew because I was training all the same clients and we were all having the same issues. You know, knee issues, you know, for women, you know, the bones, our structure is different in our hips than men. And there's more of an internal degree change, angle for from the hip bone to the knee bone. So women are already angular in, that's why we get the knee injuries. I had a client this morning, she said, you know, I'm going to be out of class in December, I'm getting a knee thing, you know, something else happened to her knee, carpal tunnel. I have a lot of clients in perimenopause that do that. So I do a lot of functional exercises, a lot of different things to hydrate the joints, mentally, physically, and emotionally, making sure they're taking their rest days, they're hydrating in protein, and that they're doing a variety of workouts. But when it comes to my postmenopausal gals, that's where I'm thinking about fall prevention. That is one of the biggest things, because that's the number one thing that'll take people out of my classes. They disappear for 6 weeks, they come back, they have a black eye, they tell me how they fell down, they got a concussion. I had one client, she was carrying a box. I don't even know what was in the box. I'm sure it was really important. And she fell, she lost her balance because again, the box was in front of her. She wasn't watching where she was going. She tripped, she went like this, broke both her elbows. Okay, so I mean, these are injuries that are life-changing. It took her 6 months to come back, even physically walk into the gym. So I do a lot of fall fun prevention with my people. And exactly like Melissa was saying, we have balls that we use in class. I make sure to do exercises where I know they're going to drop them. Extra squat, go down there and get it. You dropped your cell phone too, you got to get it. You dropped your keys in the parking lot, you got to get it. So when it's perimenopause, I think what's going to take them out of class? How can I help them and educate them on a quality of life and functionality now? And for postmenopause, what's going to take them out of class? It is fall prevention. So we do a lot of balance work, a lot of fun games, a lot of eye-hand coordination. We toss the little ball back and forth. It's fun. It's good for a giggle, but they're practicing how to, you know, not fall when they head out into the parking lot and there's black ice and acorns and snow and pine needles and all the other things. We don't want them tripping in the Target parking lot, okay? We want to keep them safe and upright.
I did want to ask, do we have any questions? Okay, did we have any questions? Anybody have any questions? Yes, Amber, you're looking really cute. Would you mind? Oh, thank you, Dan. That would be great.
I'm just curious to hear the panel's opinion on HRT and who's a good candidate for it and what determining factors and how do you know if you're on the right dose?
Amber, you want to answer it? You keep it. Yeah, okay, cool. Thank you.
So that's definitely outside of our scope of practice. But as an HRT user, I'll just give you some things that helped me to decide and some questions that you can ask your provider. Because you definitely want to be working with somebody who understands hormones and hormone replacement therapy. So I was one of those people that was like, I'm going to do this naturally, not putting any of that stuff in my body. And then I started reading research as Melissa was talking about the heart issues that can occur, brain issues that can occur, losing muscle mass a lot faster. And I thought, oh, wait a minute now, I need to look into this a little bit more. So I actually went in with my little iPad and all my questions, and I asked my provider, I took, first off, you think about the symptoms that you have. So for me, I was having hot flashes. My sleep was terrible. My number one thing was I want my sleep to be better. So sleep, hot flashes, low libido, just, I probably could have just like strangled people for no good reason. So going in with all of those symptoms that I had, and I said, I just really want help with these things. But number one was the sleep. So we worked on that. And my experience was the provider put me on it sounds like most of the dosages are pretty basic, what they put you on to see how you respond. Some people do not respond well to the progesterone, which is what I take for sleep. The estradiol patch is the other thing. And then, of course, some of your providers will give you testosterone and some will not. So I have one that says it's not FDA approved equipment. So that's the thing is I think it's important for you to go in and talk to your provider, tell them what you're experiencing and what you really want the help with, and then keep those communication lines open. Some of them are going to test your blood. Some of them you come in and they say, how are your symptoms? Great. Okay, fine. And they just keep you on the same thing.
And I think that's pretty interesting. I like that you mentioned the scope of practice. Yeah. I'm a lawyer and I get very nervous that we're gonna be confused as a physical therapist or a physician or a PA, a physician's assistant. If we don't have that level of training, we can't be doing these type of recommendations. But if you say, as an HRT user, these are some of the things I found out. Scope for me, for the research, I did not want to do HRT that was ingesting, that I didn't want to take a pill. I was informed and I did research on my own that you want to do it topically. Like you can put creams on certain areas that are fat, which we all know where they are. And you can, use a ring, which is basically like a diaphragm, but it's just the ring part. So there's different things that alternatives, but what I like at Chris, and I'm going back again to what you said, you can walk out of the room. If you're talking, and I'm just going to say it this way, to some guy who's just saying, here, take a pill, and it doesn't work for you. We did get an interesting question. Dan just shot it to me on a text. STEM, DNA, and RNA restorative research. In other words, should SCW offer future trainings to improve on weight management and recovery? I guess it was a question online. Should all women, even those in their 20s and 30s, also avoid, oh, that was for me, cold plunging directly after strength training? Yes, anybody, men, women, anyone should avoid cold plunging directly after strength training. Yes, you will feel better, but you're going to counteract the inflammation, the good inflammation you're gonna have after the strength training. Just plunge, what, about an hour later, give yourself some rest time in between. Kristen, you were gonna talk.
Yeah, so to answer the question about HRT, if you or your client has ovaries, then you can have the conversation. Your medical provider will help you make the decision, and just came out, I think about a week ago, the black box label was removed from HRT, hormone replacement therapy, also called MRT, I think as well. So, for example, I went to my gynecologist expert, right? Remember, you are the expert on your body. Your medical provider is the expert on medicine. You got to meet in the middle. This provider told me that, and I had hot flashes, again, chronic UTIs, I had low libido, I had, you name it. I had all these symptoms, but he said, he said that there are only two signs for menopause, hot flashes and cessation of menstruation. He didn't say anything about perimenopause. And, he said, there's nothing I can do until you stop your period. That is 100% incorrect. Okay, so again, I have progesterone through an IUD. I have estradiol. It usually starts at 0.375. It's a little plastic, it almost looks like a stamp, but it's clear. You just put it on wherever and you alternate it twice a week. It can go up to, so it was 3.75, I went to 5, and now I'm on 7.5. That's usually the ceiling, because the highest that they can do is a 0.1. And if you're in perimenopause and you're at 0.1, and then you go into menopause and it gets even more intense, you got nowhere to go. That's the ceiling. So usually most providers will stop you at a 0.75. So, and I have testosterone. So, I have no negative side effects. It's fine. The testosterone is fine. But they did a blood test, and what was I told? Your labs are normal, right? How many times have we heard that from our clients? But then I retested them with another educated provider. I had no testosterone, none, zero, zip, gone. Everything was just in the wrong place. Everything was so low, and I had all these symptoms, and I was told, you're still menstruating, there's nothing that we can do. Can I recommend like an online resource that I use?
Absolutely.
Okay, so again, this is out of my scope of practice for all of us here, unless you're medically trained, this is out of your scope of practice, but it doesn't need to be out of your scope of experience, okay? Whether you speak from personal experience or not. I usually recommend MIDI Health, MIDI Health, to my clients, and all of these providers, nurses, as well as OBGYNs are certified with the National Menopause Society. So I have an online person who does all my medication, and I have an in-person doctor that I see live and in person. It took me, I think, 15 months to get an in-person appointment. So there are not enough providers. So if you get one, you find one, you love it. And I've literally had conversations. Apparently she is a provider for this area. I've had conversations with many women. They're like, oh, I see her. You see her. I see her. So again, we can always say, hey, go check out Media Health. It's usually covered under your health insurance or HSA, FSA. And, we need to be able to at least have a few resources, whether they're tried and true for us or we've researched them online and done our homework, then we can send our clients there. But if you have ovaries, you have the right to have a conversation.
I just want to say something real quick about blood test. When you get your hormones tested on a blood test, it only tests for free hormones in your bloodstream. Anything that is connected to a receptor or anything that is still in an endocrine gland is not get tested. So they are a very short snapshot of what is happening in your body. You also have something called a sex hormone binding globulin. It's SHBG, and it binds your sex hormones, and they're not free. So that is also not tested on a blood test. So when somebody comes back and says you're low or you're non-existent or you're normal, it's a snapshot in time. I am 60 years old. I've been postmenopausal for 9 years now. My OBGYN says to me, and I love her to death, how you doing? Are you sleeping? Yes, I sleep like a log. Are you stressed? No, not really. Do you snap at anybody? Just her. I'm good. She says, can we do anything for you? No, I'm good. It's very individualized, but make sure your OBGYN or whoever you see is asking you questions.
That's fantastic. Question, yes.
What are your thoughts about taking herbal supplements?
What are your thoughts about taking herbal supplements?
other supplements such as,
Or other supplements such as ashwagandha, blah, 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 blah. Okay, sorry.
So because we are not registered dietitians, so Haley Digsby is sitting in the audience. She is a registered dietitian. This is more in her scope of practice. But there is some terrific research out there about rhodiola. There's some terrific research out there about berberine. But you have to do the research on your own or go see a registered dietitian. I would not go to any social media site where it's quoting research and at the end, here's a bottle, okay? If you're not familiar with this AI site, it's called Consensus AI. And you put it into your phone, you write your question down about, is rhodiola effective for perimenopausal or postmenopausal women? It's going to show you every research study that was ever done on rhodiola. And then you can actually click on the citations and read the research study, but it's going to give you a synopsis of what the results are. So that's a great way to do your
Yeah,
own
and
research.
you have to be careful about these synopses that you read. I don't care if it's the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal. The only research I really read is People magazine. And it's the only thing I can believe. No, but that's what happens with us, is that we hear something on the radio or we read a quick summary. And what we want to look for is, where is the research? How long was it done? And where was it published? Journal of American Medical Association, JAMA, is an excellent resource. There's Nature magazine is also an excellent resource. And
Frontiers.
Frontier is another
Cells.
one. Yeah, Cells is another one. And so these are resources that they sit there and review the study. So if you read the synopsis, and the synopsis is written in English, so even I can pronounce it, you know, that's something we can take to heart, share with our clients.
You also want to look for a meta-analysis, which is where they've taken all the research and they put it into one big study. But the other thing that I have totally lost my train of thought about research.
It's okay, she sleeps well.
I sleep well. I usually don't lose my words, but somebody made me work for 12 hours today, so it's getting a little old. Somebody else, go ahead.
My answer to that is that you cannot out supplement a bad diet. You can't out supplement poor sleep. You can't out supplement stress. So supplementation for herbal or however you decide to do it, you need to look at the core things that we all know, that sometimes a social media pick will be like, OMG, I have to take this, that, and I'm done. It's a piece of the puzzle, but if the puzzle is so fuzzy and you don't even know what you're looking at, no supplement is going to work.
We got a question is, what are your feelings? And I'm going to give this to you, Melissa. Sorry about that. Make it 12 and a half minutes. Okay. What are your hours? Sorry. What are your feelings about the FDA new recommendations on bioidentical hormones? I've been on this woman's been on bioidentical hormones for 10 years. I've been so fortunate. I do sublingual and have my blood hormones tested every 6 months. I have felt amazing.
Out of my scope of practice.
Out of her scope of practice.
Bioidentical is a non-real term. It's a marketing term.
It's a marketing term. You know what, honey? If it works on you, keep doing it. Okay? No, seriously.
Yes.
Red light therapy. Okay, this is terrible. I hope I don't have an exhibitor doing this. It's ridiculous. It's, you know, I mean, it's ridiculous. I've read all this research on it, but if you can lay and you relax and it makes you feel good, if it works, yeah, my cortisol level relaxes. I don't look any younger.
So I wanted to say something.
Yes.
You have a question you want to ask. A little bit kind of piggybacking on the supplement thing. I just would like to make this comment too, that one of the things that your body is going to love and crave during this time, Sarah already mentioned it, consistency. What I want you to think about is we have a circadian rhythm. If you can schedule yourself to eat consistent meal times, to exercise at the certain same time. Not every day, but you know, if you, because sometimes, like, I don't exercise every day. If you could, I do walk every day. If you go to bed at the same time every night and get up at the same time every morning. If you wait to have your caffeine until a couple of hours after you've been awake. If you drink plenty of water. So I want you to look at your life and how can you systemize your life? By doing that, it helps to, I'm not going to say regulate your hormones, but in a way it does. It helps your body to understand when you should eat, when you should sleep, when you should be like, "Ooh, let's go." And if you'll start to go to those basics and really systemize your life, you're going to feel a lot better than being.
You're going to feel a lot more in control.
Yes, and you're going to
lot
feel
more-
better because your body knows what to expect and when
Yeah.
to do it.
The only other thing, we got one more question. We're really at 8:01, so I'll do this quickly. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, is it safe to go to the gym on your menstrual cycle? I was like, what?
Okay, so
I just thought that was kind of
I
a
don't know
little
about
bit hard. The only thing I would say when a younger woman obviously is menstruating, there is a predisposition to injury just because of your flexibility, your strength, your emotions can be, not are, but can be affected. So there has been documented more injuries when someone's menstruating. It doesn't mean they can't perform physically at their best, but it means you are predisposed to injury. So a lot of athletic trainers will refrain from doing the heavy lifting or some of the extreme athletic training activities when a woman is menstruating, especially when they're the day before they get their period and when they get it the 2 days in, and then as they're coming out, then they begin the heavy training. We can't kind of go into that. I have to thank you, ladies. This is always fantastic. I feel like I'm in my own personal therapy program right here. So thank you for joining us, and thank you all for joining us. And Dan, thank you for running. And next time you guys are in Boston, Washington, DC, Orlando, Atlanta, Dallas, or Chicago, we would love you to join us at a live Maniac convention. So thank you for joining us this evening. Have a good night.